Gentlemen, what if Figner's Watch took 1 week off and decided to talk about Marvel's What If Zombies and What If Killmonger saved Tony Stark in one episode? Well, the best part is you don't have to wonder because we're doing it right now on Fake Nerds Watch Marvel's What If episodes 5 and 6. How's it going, guys?
Hey,
good.
I thought you were waiting. Go ahead.
Return to the two-parter we did at the beginning.
Yeah.
I thought you were waiting for us to answer. So I was like, Are we supposed? Am I supposed to say something?
I mean, there was like a little bit of a pause. I waited for a little pause just to see if one of you was going to answer, and then I think, okay, no one's going to answer, so I'll just keep on going.
It seemed it wasn't. It seemed you were still in intro, so I was just gonna be like, I'm waiting for part 2. All right.
Oh, okay.
We're here. What's up? Welcome back. It's been a while, friends.
Yeah,
we're waiting to be introduced by Ben Magnet.
I didn't know we were still doing that. Okay, I'm Ben Magnet. That's Brandon T. McClure.
Yes, hi.
Ryan Eliopoulos.
Hi, Marvel.
And of course, Sparks Whitty.
Hi, DC.
Rob, no, get out!
Oh no.
Hi, I'm a
sorry.
Marvel and I'm a DC.
I'm so sorry. I'll leave.
No, Sparks, get your
That
butt
was so
back in here.
fast.
No,
You guys remember those videos?
Yeah, I was just about to ask you. You remember those, right?
Just some random guy? Yeah, I remember those. Those are great.
Early
I'll always
days.
remember the episode where the villains had a party and Venom threw up and in the parking lot. He's like, "You might want to use the buddy system leaving tonight."
Oh. I just remember that how there's like little every time there's like I'm a Marvel, I'm a DC, and there's I think one had Iron Man, Tony Stark, and the other had like Rorschach or something.
That is an episode. Yeah. Anyway, first tangent of the episode.
Yeah,
so
first tangent of the episode.
let's Sparks. You're back from vacation. I'm sure we've talked about your vacation on the Fake Nerd podcast episode.
I'm sure it happened.
So what do we think about? Should we break it up by episode? Just talk about What If Zombies first.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's start with the zombies first.
All right. So What If Zombies? What do we think about this one?
It's my second least favorite episode.
It's mine too.
I'm so glad you think so. I'm so glad.
Ben?
I'd probably sit at. So go ahead, Ben.
No, after I was kind of underwhelmed when I first saw it, and then the next day, Ryan and I were in the car and we were talking about it, and now it's definitely one of my least favorite episodes.
I don't want to convince you of something if you believe something.
Nope. I was kind of lukewarm on it the first time. You weren't trying to convince me. It was just one of those things. It's like, now that I think about it, they could have done something better.
Yeah.
Sparks?
I would probably agree that it's like my second least favorite, but I still think like the chasm between that and episode 1 is vast.
Sure.
Yeah,
not as vast for me.
Yeah, I think I'm sitting with Ryan as well. I don't think it's quite as vast for me. There are moments that I really like in What If Zombies, but all in all, I just really came away from the episode feeling very conflicted. And I've not on purpose. I have seen this episode more times than every What If episode. I've seen it 4 times.
Wow.
And 2 of those are because Zara kept falling asleep.
I mean, fair.
Yeah. So and then 1 was a refresher to do an episode that we actually didn't end up doing. But I, every single time I just come away feeling the exact same way, just really conflicted with how this episode plays out. The tone of it is really off for me. I maybe that's just it. The voice acting's not there. Bucky is terrible. I think that Sebastian Stan is probably the worst actor in this show, unfortunately.
Poor Sebastian.
And here's the thing. I even like the bit where he kills Cap and he says, I guess this is the end of the line. Anyone else saying that line with emotion, I think could really nail it, but he doesn't. And that really hurts this episode. Especially when Falcon dies and he's just like, I should be sad, but I'm not. And I'm like, cool. That's the whole episode.
He's like completely monotone the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's better.
Go ahead, Ryan.
I'm gonna say, I guess it's better than like the awful line delivery in the first episode, as opposed to just being monotone, or at least like it's a little better, I guess. I think he's a little better in this episode, but like not by much.
Sparks, you were gonna say something?
I think he's not. I'm not defending him. I don't think it's a good performance, but I think he's not helped by like that line makes no sense. I don't even know what that's supposed to convey to me when he talks about Falcon, for example. Like a bunch of his lines just feel like meaningless, and I don't know what they're supposed to convey, because theoretically at this point Bucky has only had the interaction with Falcon that we saw briefly in like Civil War.
Yeah.
So why would he even comment on it? Like, he doesn't know him.
I think this is the weakest script out of all the episodes, even more than one. I think there's cool stuff in this episode, but I think this is, again, tonally, I think this episode was just all over the place, man. And like, it even at the beginning for me, like, this is episode 5, right? Episode 5.
Yeah.
Okay, so up to now, I think the Watcher he's been stoic, he's been in the background, he's been very foreboding. And then episode 5, he's like, oof, that happened. And I'm like, okay, that's extremely silly. That's not something I think he would say, but that's like one thing. But the whole episode was just like, so just all over the place. I'm like, I think this is just a badly written episode too.
Like when going on the whole Watcher thing, when he comes up in episode 4 and actually talks directly to Doctor Strange, that's kind of like a oh shit moment in that episode. Whereas in this one, and he's just like, yo, zombies, man.
Yeah.
I think Ryan's kind of like hitting at the main problem with it, which is that to have it, I think this episode is hurt by the fact that the Doctor Strange episode exists, because that shows that they can take something dark and serious. And the zombie episode clearly came away with, let's have fun with zombies.
Yeah.
And it didn't want to do anything actually dark or serious. Like, even the concept of Vision feeding T'Challa slowly over time to Wanda is so quickly brushed aside and moved from. I think the only bit that really, like, it's the standout moment of the episode for me, pretty easy to see why, is Hope talking with Peter.
Yeah, that's mine too.
And saying, how do you stay so upbeat? And I'm like, because it crystallizes Peter Parker so well. It's also the first time we hear Uncle Ben ever mentioned in the MCU, but it crystallizes who Peter is amongst them so well. But I also think it really made me like go, out of, I think, every dynamic I've seen in these episodes so far, now I want Wasp and Peter Parker to interact in the films.
Yeah.
That pairing actually makes a ton of sense to me and is more what I want. Like, give me the mentor role of Wasp for the next Spider-Man pair-up movie. Like,
that'd be fun,
is awesome. Like, I thought that dynamic worked so well and made so much sense.
Bouncing off of the Spider-Man thing, which I agree, that's the strongest part of the episode for me as well. And when he mentioned when Happy dies,
Happy's another good example of like that tone problem too.
But when Happy dies and he goes, no, not Happy, people are more sad about Happy's death than every other death in this episode, including Kurt and Sharon.
Yeah.
Well, who can blame them for Sharon?
But this isn't a bad Sharon yet.
Sure.
Retroactively, it is.
I mean, retroactively,
all Sharons are bad Sharons.
No, yeah.
Retroactively, I am not sad to see the character go. But like at this point, like they've been fighting the zombie apocalypse, and Hope kills Sharon. Says, "Guys, I have Sharon on me."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that was weird. That's a good example where it's like, yeah, it's really weird. It'd be understandable if it's people who you're more adjusted to, like them having been gone for a while. Like if she'd done the same bit with Cap.
Yeah.
Because like Cap's been a zombie for a while, we're kind of adjusted to it. But doing it with Sharon, who just got turned, you're right. It is part of that tone problem. Real quick, because I only want to talk about for a second, like Sharon just didn't need to be in this episode. She adds nothing.
No.
And which is a further problem of like why I don't care that the character is there, because I'm like, she's not contributing anything. Kurt does more than she does as a character present in the episode. Like, anyway.
I really like the guy that is voicing Peter. I think he does a good Tom Holland.
I think he's got his cadence down really well. I'm gonna say a similar thing about the voice actor for Tony Stark in the next episode as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're both I think they both picked up what they're doing without sounding like an impression, but the right speech patterns. Yeah. Where I hear how those characters talk.
Yeah, I think the Tom Holland one more so for me because he actually does sound like Tom Holland. The Tony Stark one has an issue where I think he gets the cadence right, but the tone of his voice is off.
Robert Downey Jr. is a hard to replicate tone, but I'm like, no, that's how Tony would say that line though. So good job.
Yeah.
Did
Go
Peter
ahead.
seem old to you in this episode? Older?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does.
Okay.
I wonder if it's because Tom Holland is actually taller than a lot of these characters, and because we don't see him interacting with them often, we're just not used to the height disparity between them. But it is strange.
Well, and I think that's also like somewhere in the timeline of where this would be, Tom Holland would be theoretically a little younger and shorter.
This is Infinity War.
But even then, but even like taking that into account, it's still. I said that, but then I'm like, he's blipped. He's basically the same age through all these movies.
It's not a real problem. I just noticed it. I'm like, it's weird that he's not the size of Spider-Man, you know?
I think it's the animation in the face. Like his face just looks like an older face than Tom Holland's does in the Infinity War Endgame films.
Yeah.
I won't speak to like currently, but he looks like original Spider-Man PS4 Spider-Man and not the new remodel that looks like younger. This guy still looks older, and it's weird. There's something about the hair, the way they do the hair, that makes him look older.
So the nexus point, to use the Loki vernacular, is that instead of Janet Van Dyne getting superpowers, she got a zombie virus in the quantum realm.
Great idea.
I thought that was really solid. I was really happy with that. And going back and seeing the Hank Pym Janet Van Dyne moment together in that way, really tragic, which is really strange because it's undercut by the watcher going, "Oof, that happened."
That's
Also a cool confirmation of when Ant-Man and the Wasp takes place. It's 2 weeks before the events of Infinity War. Yeah,
I thought that was really cool and totally lines up with what we were talking about when we did our own timeline. Really into that.
I want to, because you brought that up, like I want to talk about like two of the things that like the episode's moving so fast because it's trying to do a zombie movie in like 30 minutes. That there are two leaps in logic that just are really bad for me and don't make a lot of sense. And I feel like the episode needed to find a different way to tackle them, which is if Wasp is one of the main people, so she survives that attack with Hank and Janet, then they're in that lab that we see in Ant-Man and the Wasp. She couldn't have secured that lab and gotten out before they like shrunk it or done something to keep them trapped. If she didn't live, I'd be like, yeah, they got out. Ooh, no. But she lives, and I'm like, oh, okay. That's
a really good point, because it's not like a horde of zombies attacked that building. It was two old men who attacked the building, and one of them escaped.
Yeah. So that's one, but the one that I think is even more like, what is happening here is when the Avengers get attacked by the zombies, because they show up on the bridge, they get down, and I'm like, all these people are already zombies. Like, what are they doing? They look like they're just here to get bitten. What is the goal? They're not here to save anybody. Like, if they were there to save some civilians, I'd be like, yeah, dang, sucks. But like, it's literally just like a bridge full of zombies, and they're like, all right, guys, off the ship, here we go. And then they get bitten, and it's like,
would have been like,
I just didn't know what they were doing.
It's like, hey, we have all these zombies on the Golden Gate Bridge. Blow the bridge.
Wait, I'm not sure if there's zombies. I gotta go downstairs. I gotta check. I gotta get real close.
It's not even that. If, like Sparks was saying, they were saving people, like we see in Avengers 1. If they were actively saving people and then they get bit, that's something.
Yeah. Tony Stark and Steve Rogers came back together, which is something they were so adamantly unable to do, and they finally did it. They did it to just go beyond a bridge with a bunch of zombies without a plan. Are you shitting me? I'm sorry. Yeah. It just feels so needlessly stupid.
Yeah, it's okay. So I want to dive into the comic for just a little bit. So there's a comic called Marvel Zombies. It's been around for almost 20 years now. There's been many sequels and many spin-offs. So when this was announced, I was like, cool, they're going to do Marvel Zombies. So I read that comic, and that comic is wild, you guys. That is a comic where the zombies keep their personalities, and they have to eat human flesh to retain the personality, or they turn into monsters, right? And it's horrific every time it happens. And like, this episode is so pedestrian when it comes to being a zombie movie. The fact that they had Marvel Zombies and they completely ignored it, except for one part. If they just completely ignored Marvel Zombies and they wanted to do their own like regular zombie thing, that's fine. But they took stuff from the comic, so they know it was there. The fact that these zombies aren't talking, that we don't have like an evil zombie Tony Stark, it is such a missed opportunity. This could have been as good as the T'Challa episode, and they goofed.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, because in the show, when we first are introduced to the zombies, because Thanos' people come down, Call Obsidian and Squidward. I legitimately forgot his name. Ebony Maw. Thank you. We are led to believe that Wong, Strange, and Iron Man have retained something because they're using their abilities.
Yeah.
So they've retained something, but they're. Yeah. But so it's like they went to the comics like, maybe we pull back from this part, but we keep going with this part. And it's like, no, you did that wrong.
No, see, that's the confusing part. Like, it wouldn't bother me, I think, if they couldn't use their abilities. If it was just like straight up standard zombie.
Yeah,
thing. Like, it would bother me less. But the fact that they can use their abilities, the fact that they can do everything is so frustrating. And it's even more muddied and dumb when you get to Happy, and Happy comes back still saying blam as a zombie. And I'm like, so what? Like, do they have conscience? Do they know what they're doing? Where's the line?
Or Hawkeye misses.
And it just refuses to engage with that at all.
I think I think this is the first time that I haven't liked Ant-Man. I think he's tonally out of like
Me too.
He's just a floating head, and like again, like in a different scenario, this would be more fun. But he's just for me wildly out of place. And like all of this comedy stuff could have been put onto the zombies, and I'm like, then it would have worked because that just would have been the comic. And I'm like, I just don't understand this is the direction they went, because I just found it so like trite and just so boring.
When you get to the moment where Scarlet Witch's reveal is a tone shift for the episode, or at least it should be, but it doesn't. And the tone refuses to shift into the more darker territory by having Scott there quipping like an old man. Yeah. Like, he got the humor thing. That's fine. You can keep that you can keep that idea. But once you've just watched his friend die, and then he finds out that Hope is dead, like, come on, man, read the room.
And like, it would have played better in one where Ryan's right, where they had their personalities the way they do in the comics, and like you're kind of playing like you're playing in satirical kind of like, we're just having a really good time here, guys. And like, you don't need to bring the realistic mind to it, but because it refuses to do that, it's like this should be weighing on these characters rather than them having fun. The zombies aren't having fun. They're being monsters. Like
nobody's having fun.
Well, like, but they are. And like, as much as I enjoyed and thought it was very funny to do the Baba Yaga bit when she comes for him, it's still like, I wouldn't have taken that to not I wouldn't have that instead of having an episode where they're actually either all doing it and having a good time, or B, taking it seriously and doing it with a lot of sincerity. And it's weird because it's an episode that I think is full of like really strong moments.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah,
I agree.
And strong choices. Like, I think a critical flaw is I think it's rather genius that it's Bruce Banner, who we're following from the beginning, coming to Earth right from the beginning of Infinity War at a time when the Hulk doesn't want to work with him anymore, and then being thrust into the zombie situation. The man who should be able to deal with zombies no problem, being stranded, tossed into the situation. Some of his friends are monsters now, and he can't do anything.
Yeah.
And the fact that we drop him as the POV main character, like once we get into the group, is the linchpin of, I think, the problem.
Yeah.
If we had actually, because like he doesn't come back to center until the very end, and that should have been a whole arc. And at least if that had been solid, I think everything else would have been like, yeah, all right, but like Bruce's arc was clear.
Yeah.
This was a story about Bruce getting through the zombie apocalypse with other people there, but they dropped that so quickly, and I'm like, man, it would have been such a smart idea to follow that through.
And he's a man who turns into a monster. They could have done a whole thing about it.
They could have. It was all right there. I'm like, it was so smart to choose this point in time, to choose Bruce as the focal point being tossed into it, and we just lost all the potential of that very quickly.
Yeah, I agree with that. Ultimately, though, I do like where we leave the Hulk at the end of this. I
agree.
I'm into that a lot, especially like what I didn't know I wanted, which was Hulk versus Scarlet Witch, which I think is a really cool snippet. I won't call it a scene; it's a snippet.
It's a cool 5-second Twitter scene. Yeah,
there are great moments. I think the visualization, a lot of the animation is good. The visualization of Wanda, the zombie, is really cool.
Yeah.
The idea of how Hope sacrifices herself is great.
Oh, the big moment. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. There's so many good choices. And the through line is just sloppy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I really like the Hope getting big and saying, "Peter, smile for me" when she's dying. I think that's really solid. The Hulk saving Banner at the very end there, and then having Banner run into the zombie horde. Like, wouldn't it be nice if you were the hero ones? And like that, I think that's all really solid. It just would have been even better if that was the through line of the episode, rather than kind of what they did with episode 1, which is like, you've seen Infinity War.
Yeah, I didn't like, and I didn't find this.
Wasn't even. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying I didn't find this particularly scary either. And like the thing about Marvel Zombies, the comic, is that because they retain their personalities, that it's like a truly like really dark comedy horror. So it could be really grotesque and really funny at the same time. And in this episode, I didn't find it to be funny or horrifying at all.
Like the parts with Paul Rudd with Ant-Man, Scott Lang at the end of the episode are just like, dude, shut up.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's like you have this like him and like Peter, T'Challa, and Scott. They're like, yeah, we're going to Wakanda. We're gonna be able to save everyone, and he's just like constantly throwing joke after joke. It's like, dude, shush. Also,
the writers just don't get Scott Lang.
Yeah. Also, this is the second straight episode where that universe is doomed.
Zombie
Thanos, you're screwed.
Hey, Tony Stark dies in like 4 episodes in a row. So
it's important to note that most of the time Paul Rudd writes Scott Lang, so they probably should have let him do that.
He's in that character. Yeah.
So there's a look. We have a show here. This is our show. Sometimes we do the broad strokes. Sometimes we do the broad strokes of like, here's story things. Sometimes I feel the need to take this opportunity to nitpick. So this is what this is.
Oh.
Camp Lehigh was destroyed in Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
It's a what if? It's an Elseworlds.
Not of the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
It's very much after the Winter Soldier.
He is right.
No, there's a lot of things in these. I would say in these like next 2 episodes where this next episode I like, but like they're fudging with times and peoples, and I'm like, just don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. What if you didn't care?
I realize that's why I bring it up as a nitpick. I'm not saying. But like we were definitely in Zemo's brain at the end there, and I was like, Lehigh was destroyed.
Hey man, maybe the events of Winter Soldier happened differently in this one.
Then that's just not. Then it's a what if. That's a what if a Winter Soldier happened differently.
That's the sequel episode.
Hey man, that's like how the Hope Van Dyne episode was all like, what if Hope Van Dyne was an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.? And we were just seeing how that played out right at the end, not all the things that meant were different before.
The other thing is, I'm not going to get off of it, but I'm going to get off of that as a point. The other thing I want to bring up is the Ant-Man theme plays, and I love that theme. Mm-hmm. When Hope is blowing up zombies, I think that is a really cool moment because that theme is really cool, and I'm really happy that the show kind of does what Sparks and I used to talk about when Avengers was coming out. Like, wouldn't it be great if they merged these themes and played them when characters did their moments? Before they had themes, but like seeing that What If does do that and create, and like we hear the different theme songs from the different movies play out when the characters are supposed to do things is really cool musically, and I'm really into it.
I agree. I think What If has a really strong music choice across the board.
Yeah.
The way that they use themes and work that in. I
wish
that some of the themes were stronger.
Hope's death is honestly like, that's such a great musical cue.
Yeah,
I was so into that like song that was playing during her death. I was like, yeah, hell yeah, this is a good bit.
It ends with Thanos already in Wakanda. They were going to go to Wakanda to survive. And
Here,
then...
okay, I'm gonna go back to my nitpicky thing. Why'd Thanos go to Wakanda?
It's a great question. I was also like, okay,
Because he doesn't go to, because in Infinity War he goes to Wakanda because he knows that
Vision.
the Mind Stone is there.
Yeah. Maybe Vision's on vacation there. We don't know it.
No,
he just died.
They have the Mind Stone.
What if we didn't know that?
But Vision Thanos should have shown up at Camp Lehigh.
Yeah.
Or just have him be on his big ship.
Or
It just like whatever. Yeah.
It feels very much like they just wanted to show the scary image of a zombie Thanos holding the Infinity Gauntlet, and I'm like, okay, that means nothing.
Right.
It very much comes from that place. I won't push back on like Paul Rudd being totally out of place. I think he, like his Ant-Man, I think he was. I do still think the idea of the floating head with the cape is sick.
It's pretty cool.
I will not lie.
Cool,
When Spider-Man got the cape, I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. But then when the cape went to Sky, I was like, okay, that's also kind of cool.
I think it's his lines that I have a problem with. I don't have a problem with him being there.
Yeah.
It's mostly it's like the script's like
definitely the problems with the script, not with the character.
So that was my Thanos showing Wakanda when we see that the Wakanda, like Okoye is like Wakanda's the last human refuge. It's like, and then Thanos shows up. It's like, well, Thanos shouldn't have gone. That's just not. He wouldn't have been there anyway. But
Okoye is a good bring up because I just don't think she's given proper moment outside of like her Wakanda Forever to T'Challa when she's about to be killed. Outside of that, I don't think she's given a lot of good character stuff, which is a shame. She feels wasted here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll agree with that. I do really like T'Challa's inclusion, though. I think Chadwick is. I hesitate to say this because of the kind of the nostalgia that comes with the fact that he's passed away. Then we're like seeing his last performances, but I think Chadwick has constantly been a really pleasant surprise in every single one of these episodes with some solid T'Challa character moments written into every single time that we see him. And this is no exception when I'm not even talking about him talking about death is not the end at the end. I'm talking about like when we see him on the table is like, you'll wake her, or like the definite fear and dread that he has towards Vision because he's been being chopped up and fed to Wanda. I think that's some good stuff.
I think there's, throughout in Hollywood, like a lot of really good actors turned into good voice actors as well. And I think, with enough time, he absolutely could have, like, he is good in all these performances. And I think with time, he could have been like, then the star of like, the next Pixar movie or whatever. Like it sucks.
100%. 100%.
That's the real what if right there.
Yeah.
And then there's one final thing I wanted to bring up, which I've written twice in two different notepads, which is I'm really into the idea that the Watcher keeps getting closer. Yeah. Every episode, the Watcher is getting closer.
Oh yeah, because in the that makes sense. Because in the next episode, you actually like see him in the flesh, not as like this omnipotent ghost.
Omnipotent, but yes,
omnipotent ghost.
Yeah. That's a hard word.
Yeah. The idea that we see him because he's because clearly by the end of the season, he's interfering.
Yeah.
Because that's why he's getting closer.
We know. Like I haven't watched any of the mid-season sneak peeks or whatever, but we know that like there's a multiversal team building together, and I'm sure the Watcher's like, that's problematic for some reason or whatever. So like,
he puts together the team for some reason.
Oh yeah, like I can't do it, so you guys have to. Yeah.
There's a really terrible car commercial that shows like Captain Carter and T'Challa, Star-Lord, and Party Thor swinging Mjolnir out of a car fighting a whole bunch of like Ultrons while the Watcher is there part of the battlefield, and I'm like, well, I really hope that that's not where we're headed.
Ultra Vision.
Well, it's definitely not going to be the car commercial, but I think we're seeing maybe the Ultrons, the multiverse, maybe that. But yeah, honestly, I'm looking forward to that because I really like seeing the Watcher kind of constantly getting like, I wish I could interfere. Like I'm devastated that I can't. I watch these universes die.
Now, here's a question, and it might not actually have an answer, but I saw somebody pose it on Twitter. Who's the Watcher talking to?
Us.
Is it actually us, or is he talking to someone? Do you think?
I assume it's us because the comic is he's talking to us too.
Yes. I'm just assuming because like this is like the big MCU thing, and like I wonder if he's like, is this like a journal or
It's
something?
Stanley.
It's Stanley. Because like he's like, why? Why do they watch? Why are they doing this? Like, what's the point? Like they have to catalog it or something, right? I'm curious if like they'll give him kind of like more of a purpose in the MCU.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I always assume the Watcher is talking to himself.
He just likes talking to himself. Yeah, he's so crazy.
He has to create his own narrative around it. He's by himself. He's bored.
Oh, he's Mr. Nobody.
Oh,
that's a reference for you guys.
I just thought of a theory. What if it's King?
No,
it's not.
But hear me out. What if the Watcher's talking to a version of Kang, and then Kang sees all this crazy multiversal shit, and he's like, I'm just going to have one timeline, one set sacred timeline.
No, that's not it, because we know that this is happening because of the end of Loki.
Yeah.
Never mind.
That's why, like, real quick, because, like, he didn't have to watch so many universes before because they didn't exist. But now that there's literally an infinite amount of things, like, he's looking at the ones that are the most interesting and, like, the most, like, oh, is shit going to go bad? So then every episode it's getting worse and worse. And, like, by the end, it's like, I got to interfere, I guess.
Yeah, I like the idea that the Watcher is just talking to us because, like I said, it is the comic. That's what he does in the comic. But if he ends up talking to, like, if they make it like a story point, like, hey, I don't know much about Uatu in the comic, so I don't know if they ever explained why he watches Earth.
I'm sure there's like a 1975 Fantastic Four I've never read.
Sure.
Yeah.
Should we get into the next one then? Sounds like we're pretty much done with kicking zombies.
Tony.
All right. So what if Killmonger saved Tony Stark? Right. That's pretty much the episode title.
Yeah.
I like this one.
Yes, I also liked it. I wish I loved it. I also think the scripting in this episode isn't super great, but I think the performances are really good, and I think the idea itself is really good. Michael B. Jordan rules.
Yeah,
that dude is so. I want him to be Killmonger. Bring him back. I don't care if he's dead. Like that dude's so good. Like,
I think the idea carries this episode a lot.
In the span of 1 minute, they say that Killmonger likes anime, which is something Michael B. Jordan likes IRL, and they mention a Gundam figure, which just made me happy. But besides the point, I also enjoyed this episode. I wish they stuck the landing a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've had this problem with cliffhanger endings in the past, but this one was really, I feel, what the most egregious of the cliffhanger endings, because I was really starting to get invested of how Killmonger, because essentially Killmonger's Palpatine. He's playing both sides. And I really want to see him essentially take over Wakanda and use the Wakanda weapons to fight a war over the world. I really was hoping to see that, but obviously we're not going to get it. Or maybe we will get it, but...
Yeah.
Sparks?
I mostly echo what Ryan said. I think without Michael B. Jordan back as Killmonger, this would be a weaker episode.
Yeah.
I don't know that it really... This is one of those where, like, I think it's hurt by the fact that it has to be animation and that it has to be one of the shorter things. It's not like other MCU episodes where one thing can be 35, but another could be 52.
Mm-hmm.
This is one that should have been longer to give more time to actually flesh out Killmonger because it's not all there.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right off the bat, I didn't like this episode for the first 10 minutes until Killmonger's betrayal, because I thought they were just turning Killmonger into a good person in this, and it was just like they're just ignoring all of his history just because he met Tony Stark right now, and I thought that was gonna be like, wow, this is a huge leap of logic for me. But then luckily he's still Killmonger, and like that's what I love about the episode. It's like it's Killmonger to the extreme.
Like he kills Rhodey and then he kills T'Challa.
I remember we were talking. I remember when Rhodey showed up, and I'm just like, and I paused it, and I turned to Zara and I said, it'd be really funny. It would be really funny if they wanted to commit to something like this, if they got Terrence Howard back as Rhodey and not.
They wouldn't do that because they didn't get Edward Norton.
No, of course they wouldn't do it, but I thought it would be really funny because it's supposed to be Terrence Howard Rhodey, not Don Cheadle.
But I do love that it's. I'm not a big fan of Terrence Howard, so I'm glad that it's not him.
I'm not saying I'm not. I just thought it'd be funny. I just thought the humorous anecdote.
Yeah. I just wish Terrence Howard didn't beat women. Anyway, so I like that Don Cheadle's made to look like the younger age and everything.
Mm-hmm.
but it bothers me that Killmonger and T'Challa look like they do 7 years later. That there was no effort made to make them look like the early 20s, arguably late teenagers that they're supposed to be.
So Shuri's supposed to be like 8 years old in this episode?
Yeah.
All right.
They definitely worked there. I kind of had a similar issue with Tony's face animation in this one. Is he's definitely got those old man lines from the later MCU films.
Yeah.
I
think this might be, because this is a mostly not mostly, like I would say like half the episode's mostly just people talking. Like I think this is the worst for me the show's look, because it's just Tony Stark talking, and I don't think he looks very good, to be honest.
No, he doesn't.
I like the anime robots, but it's just when it's just them talking, I'm like, this is kind of painful.
It's because the face animation remains the weakest part of the animation.
Yeah.
And they struggle to, like, it's so weird how well they are. Like, I see Killmonger, I see Michael B. Jordan, I see Chadwick Boseman, I see Don Cheadle, and yet somehow I don't see Tom Holland, I don't see Mark Ruffalo. Like, it's weird who this works for and who this doesn't.
Going back to the other two zombies, I couldn't tell it was Tom Holland or Paul Rudd.
Sure.
I had to listen to their voices, like, okay, yeah, it's them.
Paul Rudd has a really defined jaw in that episode, which he doesn't have normally.
Yeah, but it was looking on to going back to Killmonger. I loved how he was still like the brilliant strategist, the chess master, essentially. Like where he goes up and he's talking to Tony Stark and he just reveals Obadiah Stane's plan in front of everyone. And
real quickly though, love the Obadiah Stane voice actor they got. It's clearly not Jeff Bridges, but man, like as soon as you talk, I was like, Jeff Bridges?
I was like, Bo Bridges?
Because like it does sound, he doesn't have that many lines, but like the yelling is on point.
They definitely wanted to make sure that they got the raspy, the Tony part of Obadiah more than what he actually sounds like, which is fine. Because again, he doesn't have that many lines. But he's delightful. He's being, Tony. Blah, blah, blah.
Okay. I always have an issue with Robert Downey Jr. Voice impersonators because they don't quite get it right. Sometimes they get closer. This guy, I think, went really smart and decided to do a, impersonating kind of how he talks and less what he sounds like, which I think was smart. But Pepper, awful, a terrible Gwyneth Paltrow.
She was fine. I honestly didn't really think about her too much until you brought her up in this episode.
Yeah. I was kind of.
She's supposedly the hero of the follow up story of this one. So like I don't connect with her as a character very well. This is kind of like almost segueing into the writing issue that I have with some of the side characters, such as Pepper. Like I don't think the voice acting is very good for her, and I don't think the writing is very good for her. She's just kind of a nothing character. So if I'm led to believe that I'm supposed to have kind of like here we go, Pepper and Shuri, like I don't have that.
This is the first episode where I wish it was a two-parter, because I really want to see the outcome, mostly because I want more Michael B. Jordan, but also like maybe they can redeem Pepper's character in this one, maybe, and actually make her like the actual hero and do stuff. Because otherwise I'm like, you set her up for nothing.
Yeah.
Because we're not coming back to this. So the big anime war at the end, super cool. Big fan of that. Just bunch of Gundams.
I love Angela Bassett getting
me too.
Oh yeah,
that part of the action when she's out there fighting with them. I'm like, well, this is really cool.
Yeah, and then when T'Chaka turns to her and goes, "What do you think, General?" I'm like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah.
When the second he looks at her and says, "General," I'm like, she's a general.
There's only one line that I don't think Michael B. Jordan landed. And it sounds like he's yelling inside of a closet because he doesn't want to wake anybody up.
Wakanda forever.
Wakanda forever. It's Wakanda forever.
I agree with you. Oh. I agree with you. It sounded weird.
Yeah, it sounded like it was a whisper.
Because when he does it, he also says it weird. He goes, "Wakanda forever."
Yeah, it's like he's yelling for like a group of 5 people instead of army.
I agree. It also sounded weird to me every time he said it. So something is missing for me. Some beat is missing for me between T'Chaka and Killmonger when he like gets there, because he's like, T'Chaka flat out says like, "Yeah, I made sure nobody knew about this kid's existence," and I'm like, what? I feel like there should be a scene between the two
Yeah, they
discussing
moved
that
past it.
decision.
Yeah.
Or like him knowing that he killed his dad, but that's just never comes up. He's like, it's fine as long as like I get all the power. Like T'Chaka can be here. It's whatever.
Yeah,
Which just doesn't feel like it lines up with who Killmonger is in the films or in the context of this episode, and that felt wanting to me.
Also, again, this is in 2008. So this isn't 2016 Civil War.
I could give them that this covers from like 2008 into 2010. Like 2008 is when he saves Tony, but like he's been part of the crew for a while. Yeah. If you told me it goes up to 2010, I'd be like, yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what was a fun surprise for me when Killmonger brings Claw, which by the way, Andy Serkis is always a delight as Claw.
Yes.
When he does the reveal that he's Wakanda, he's got the vibranium. I was like, those are words.
he has a moment, Andy Serkis does, where he almost goes Gollum on one of his lines. And
Danny pointed that out. Danny pointed that out. She's like, we were watching the episode together. She turns to me. She's like, did he just sound a lot like Gollum there? I'm like, he did.
Yeah,
he slipped a little on one.
He's always fun to watch as Claw, so I was excited to see him in that role again, especially because like I'm still sad they killed both him and Michael G. Jordan, honestly, in Black Panther.
Yeah.
So we were talking earlier about how Chadwick Boseman has had great performances throughout this whole thing. This is actually my favorite Chadwick Boseman cameo at the very end when Killmonger becomes.
That's really good.
And essentially, it's Force Ghost. It's Jedi T'Challa.
Yeah.
Let's be real, because this whole time, Killmonger's Palpatine and T'Challa is a Jedi.
I mean,
sure.
I mean, but they did it it was from Black Panther. It's not
it's from Black Panther. But anyways, Star Wars.
It's a very good scene, Ben. I agree.
Yeah. But when he talks to him and you get that voiceover, it's like, yeah, people wanting power is going to corrupt you, or essentially saying that the way you're doing this is going to bite you in the ass eventually. I'm like, please tell me this is not the end. And then it cut. I'm like, I want to see the true end to the story. I feel like gypped.
The line where he's like, was it worth it or whatever? And he's like, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I was expecting to see his dad. I was expecting Sterling K. Brown to show up. And then when it's actually T'Challa and he's like, was it worth it, cousin? I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, I mean, it
makes more sense for that. And I think you're right. That scene plays very well. Go ahead, Brandon. You say what you were going to say.
No, actually, I forgot what I was going to say. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it was me. I cut him off. I don't share the feeling of wanting to see more, because I feel like I do agree with like they were setting up Pepper and we're never going to see any of it, and so it's like, ugh. But it told me everything I needed to know for this story, which is that it's T'Challa saying this is going to come back on you, and then you immediately sing how it's Shuri and Pepper. That's how it's going to come back on him, and like they're going to expose him, and Wakanda's going to cast him out, and he'll be punished for it. Like, I don't need to see that story. Like, it'd be cool.
No, yeah.
I would have no problem watching it, but I feel satisfied in knowing, like, that's what the arc is. They gave me the pieces, and I think that the T'Challa moment is crucial to be that linchpin of saying, like, yeah, this is coming back to bite you. Here's how. Okay, goodbye.
Yeah. I do echo, I'm with you, Sparks, pretty much, but I do echo that I think that this episode is the first one where it ends. And maybe not the first one. I'd have to go back. But like, it definitely felt like the rare time that I don't feel like a complete story was told. Like I felt that way, even with the first one, with the Captain Carter one. I felt it was rushed as hell, but I felt like a complete story was told. Mm-hmm. The first time we see T'Challa, Starlit T'Challa, like that's a complete story. The next story would be a different story. Like I don't quite feel like a sense of this story. The arc of the story resolved in a way that was, I guess, satisfactory.
Yeah,
to me.
I'm more with you, Brandon. Like I felt the ending was like I know obviously what the story would be. Like they would take Killmonger down, but I think it ending on Pepper and then like doing the thing. I think it's just like, oh, okay. Like I think that's a bad way to end the episode. And like this is the one where first one, like I would like to see more because I like this idea. It's not my favorite episode, but I like the idea so much where like if they return to it, like more than the others, I'd like to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of my major things is how much Killmonger's politics don't get to come to the forefront. Like we know them, but they're not always in play in this.
It's relying on Black Panther knowledge.
It is, and like it's a little gray. His desire does feel more driven by power in this one, whereas in the film it feels driven by a sense of like great injustice done for his brothers and sisters outside of Wakanda, and like what was done to his father, and that's much more a personal thing that's driving him, but not necessarily like I want to rule Wakanda, and more of a I want to change the world using Wakanda. And I think that differentiation is felt in the writing of the episode.
Yeah, this is not me defending it because I agree with you, but I also think it's 8 years in the past. So he's a younger, more arrogant, like less about his people, more about himself kind of person. And they could have absolutely incorporated those ideas from Black Panther into this now. But I think like they were more interested in like the big anime fight than actual politics.
I agree. And I think it's also like it's who is writing this and what that has to say about it, because like those ideas are clearly meant to be a part of Eric's belief system, because he says, and I think it's one of the better lines of the episode when he's fighting Tony and he says, the difference between you and me is that you can't see the difference between you and me.
Yeah.
So it's clearly supposed to be a part of his mentality. I just don't think it's well orchestrated into the episode. I do think the inclusion of General Ross is great, though.
Yeah. I always like to see General Ross as a character anyway, and I like the guy that they got to do a William Hurt impression. I think he's pretty good.
Oh, that wasn't actually William Hurt?
No, it's not William Hurt.
Dang, he sounded really good. I thought it was.
I think he's good. This is the second time we've seen him in the show, and I think he's good.
Yeah.
I'm not a man who likes to laugh, or whatever he said.
Yeah.
It was pretty good.
That's definitely a Thunderbolt Ross thing to say. Man, what was I guess? There's something else about this episode that I really liked, and I can't think of it. I think maybe we already talked about it. Just damn it. This was a good episode. I had a good time. It's just that ending bugs me, only because I really do want to see more. That's just me. I mean, I do agree with Sparks with your logic of how we do see how it's Pepper and Shuri there who are going to take him down. I agree with that, but at the same time, I still want to see it. And also another scene that I was really hoping to see in this episode, which we didn't, is the confrontation of you kill my dad, Uncle.
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. It's like I think it's a problem that T'Chaka is there and Killmonger leaves him alive.
Yeah.
And doesn't ever have a scene discussing that with him.
I was waiting for that to happen.
I was waiting for him to kill him.
Yeah.
Because that's who he is, at least in the films. Like the implication is that like he would kill the man who killed his dad.
I was kind of scared that he was going to kill Shuri and T'Chaka up on the thing, go down and then kill Angela Bassett and make it look like the drones did it.
No, I think he did a very good job of like purposefully making sure that he won over her character in the fight. Like he's going out of his way to make sure like you're seeing what I'm doing so that he wins. He's being smart in the way that he's trying to win hearts and minds, but it is odd to me. It's even more odd, I think, that T'Chaka wouldn't go out of his way to have a conversation with him about it.
Yeah.
Wanting to embrace him, having lost his son, to say, I did the wrong thing in ignoring you.
Yeah.
That isn't some integral part of the story is strange.
Yeah. Like if that happened, and that's like the reason why Killmonger becomes the new Black Panther. And once again, if there was a part to this, I would have loved to see a conversation between Killmonger and T'Chaka, and that's where T'Chaka finally dies by Killmonger's hand.
Sparks, real quick, like you brought it up earlier, like you're right. Like I don't know why they feel so constrained by the time limit. Like why can't this episode be 10 minutes longer to have a like full story of what happens with Killmonger, right? Like
because animation's expensive.
Sure, it's Disney.
Yeah, no, I get you. Like I agree. I think it is like. It is the limits of the animation studio because all these episodes are consistently around a certain length. I think that they are being budgeted for a first outing because they aren't a proven animation outing for how much they can do. I mean, this is even saying like we know they lost an episode because they couldn't get it orchestrated.
Oh yeah, it's like it's 9 episodes. Right?
It's 9 episodes instead of 10.
Yeah.
So I get it, but it is a shame. It is something where you're feeling like this is hampered in a way that the live actions wouldn't have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going back to Ben's point real quick, like from T'Chaka's perspective, he knows when he goes through the ritual of becoming the Black Panther what he's going to see. There's a good chance he's going to see his father. So from his mindset, I would want to get ahead of that. I would want to say, hey, I did that wrong.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know he's going to see T'Challa because he doesn't know that he has a reason to see T'Challa.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I think my biggest issue with What If as a show is how inconsistent the show is.
Yeah.
More so than any of the other Marvel shows, which I felt like even if like Falcon Winter Soldier, at least an entire episode was bad, and not like it was like there would be a good episode and a bad episode. And for here, like we still get that, but we also get a lot of within episodes bad and good moments. You know, the writing is not consistent between episodes so painfully. So
what's interesting about this show too is in of all the shows that this is the case on, this should be opposite on an anthology show like this. This has like one writing team, like the writer and director are like, it's just two people making, like, obviously there's animators, but there's only two people writing all these episodes. Like the same two people are, it's like AC Bradley and Matthew something else, I forget his name, but like that's why all the episodes are hit or miss, because it's like the same people writing it. For a show like this, you should get different people to write all these different genre episodes. I don't get why they don't do that.
Agreed, because really what you're seeing is like their strengths and their weaknesses, and where
100%.
they're really good at something and where they're really not good at something. And it's weird where those pitfalls happen, because I think the Doctor Strange episode is really solid, and in a very opposite direction, I think the T'Challa episode is really solid. And yet somewhere playing in the middle ground of those, we keep having pitfalls.
And that's the thing, like they're very good at sticking to one thing. When they try to mix the genres is when like I just don't think they're capable, at least in this first season. Like the really funny one and the really dark one are the best episodes, and then all the rest are kind of mix of both, and they're all hit or miss.
So we do know that What If is getting a season 2, right?
Yes.
Let's hope that they hear some, like Disney hears some feedback, and then they do hire more writers for this anthology series, because I would love to see some new blood. And Ryan's right, we actually do get, when we see this writing team's strengths, but we also see their vast weaknesses.
At this point, Ben, unfortunately, season 2 is probably locked when it comes to scripting, and they're animating it now.
Probably.
But there's a greater chance for, like What If has been enough of a success already in the eyes of Disney that they are saying they want to make more animation projects through the MCU. So hopefully somewhere along the line we do get something that branches out a little more and creates those opportunities. But this definitely is like, it has its rough spots. I think this episode sits higher than others. I would liken this more to the Avengers episode where people are killed.
It's a lot better than Zombies in the Avengers episode, but once
again, I really like the Avengers episodes. I think it's about on par, honestly.
I think this is about the same. I think this could have been even higher had someone more with Ryan Coogler's sensibilities about what he was trying to say with the politics of Killmonger been able to take a slap at the script and say, like, make sure that these things are integral to the character's mentality, are present in the story. And I think those things are just not thought out or fleshed out enough. And his relationship with Wakanda is kept shallow, and again, kind of relying on your familiarity with the Black Panther film, but not substituting in the differences of who that person is.
Yeah, I think that the so far we have only seen one actor really take the reins of their character and make sure that it's true to what we've seen in the MCU, and it is T'Challa. They've
given him a lot to do too.
I would push back and say Benedict Cumberbatch also had that ability with his Doctor Strange.
Sure, I'm being shallow. I'll admit when I say that, just to make the point that I think the problem really lies in the writing, or one of them, I should say, is that not enough is being put on the writer, and the writer is relying on the actors to take the reins of the voices of the characters and what mentality the characters are supposed to have within the MCU. And that's not a place that this writer specifically should be in. Like, this writer they should have more writers. They should have someone who can really, like, maybe consult with the other writers of the MCU, or to really try to try to nail this more than they are, because they are failing in a lot of character voices, and to rely on the actors to get it right is just not the way to go.
When I first heard What If was going to be like, oh, it's going to be, there's going to be a bunch of episodes and it's going to be like one of like almost every movie, I was thinking that like the screenwriters of these movies are going to be writing some of these scripts. Like if you're like, I'm not saying get like McFeely back or whatever, but like sure, like it's a 20-minute episode, right? Or a 30-minute episod. Like he wrote Infinity War. What if Infinity War was zombies? Like I feel like you could
even if you are going to the even if you are relying on the strength of the actors to bring what we expect them to bring, then maybe have it across the board and not just some of them, because it's not across the board. And that's where the frustrating part comes in, especially when the character writing comes in, for me anyway.
Yeah, and I think there is some of it, because like I don't know if it's Sebastian Stan he's just a bad voice actor, or he just doesn't care, because like he's been in enough episodes. He's been in enough episodes now where it's the same director for all these episodes. So like maybe he just doesn't care. You know what I mean? Like
they need a better voice director, because like I've mentioned it before. Oscar Isaac in Star Wars Resistance, terrible. Oscar Isaac in 2 seconds of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, great. Like the difference is the voice director. You need a better voice director on the show. That is just hands down.
Or to have one at all, because Ryan and I couldn't find one.
Oh no!
Oh yeah, did we not talk about this? Oh yeah, I think it's just like they're making, like, the guys who make the movies are making the show, but they're animating it, so they don't have like a dedicated. Yeah.
You're doing it all wrong.
That could be wrong, but I looked it up and I couldn't find it.
That is a yikes on trikes.
Yeah.
That is not how you do the show.
At this moment, it appears that there isn't one, which would explain a lot of issues.
Just like the director,
as far as performances.
The director of the episode is the voice director. Yeah.
That's not what you do. You don't do that. You just don't do that.
Let's hope for season 2.
Cue the "Oh no" theme from TikTok and Instagram Reels.
I don't think I have much more to say on this episode. I think it was pretty fun. I think Killmonger liking anime and is having a big like Gundam army is really cool, really fun. So yeah, a good fun episode.
3 more episodes left.
Honestly, should have just gone the extra mile to say that his armor was inspired by Vegeta.
It looks exactly like it.
Wasn't that confirmed? I thought that was confirmed. I could have swore I read something that he said, this is based off Vegeta.
I don't think
it's not in canon.
Yeah,
like he could have said it. He's a fan of anime. He could have said it in the episode.
The costume designer might have said it even, but we're saying it should have been in the episode.
Right. Like he said, this Vegeta.
Anyway, putting that aside, although come on, like we got an anime references, Kamehameha Wave and Shang-Chi, like who cares?
Gundam in this one.
2 things I did want to note about this episode. I really appreciate that Tony was able to outsmart him and catch on to what he did, because he was upset because his buddy was killed. Yeah. And I was like, that's a very good, like, this version of Tony thing. He could still be a sleazebag because he didn't go through the things to change him, but you mess with his best friend and he's going to come for you.
You got a little bit of superior Iron Man. Like, oh, what if Tony Stark never changed? I'm like, that's kind of nice. Yeah.
It was cool. I kind of liked the stance they took on it. I do feel like Tony was a well-written idea of what if Tony never changed.
Yeah.
That being said, the other moment that I really want to shout out is we never got to see Killmonger put one of the notches on his body. Mm-hmm. And I like that they showed that in this episode after he kills Tony.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, and he even says like, I didn't want to like put this mark, but like, I got to do what I got to do.
Yeah. I like the pre Iron Man Tony, and I think that was well done.
Honestly, Michael B. Jordan and this character, it makes me wish that Robert Downey Jr. could have done this, because they have such good banter lines. There's the whole bit where he's like, so you're gonna call Pepper in here to kill me? Yeah, no. I think we know how that would end. Just really good interactions between the two. I think Killmonger and Tony's relationship helped sell the episode.
I think so too. I really like the Rhodey, T'Challa, and Killmonger scene. I like that Rhodey realizing he's been betrayed by Killmonger is a good moment.
Also the argument between the two of them of you can't change the system unless you're in the system, which is argument, which is an argument and discussion to have, and certainly something that again plays with the ideas of Killmonger's politics. It's just not quite there enough, but I am glad that they had Rhodey at least be part of that moment.
Yes, it like, not to counter that, but Rhodey is a military guy, and like his whole thing is like, if you want to change something, you got to do it from the inside. I was like, oh, that's like, they didn't go hard in the Killmonger direction, but they kind of went in like the military direction, but like in a good way. And I'm like,
yeah. No, I'm glad Rhodey's moment is there. I don't feel like Rhodey's side of it needs to be explored, but again, it is something like picking at Killmonger's ideology, and that's just not present enough in the episode for him throughout.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. All in all, probably definitely one of the better episodes. So we got
sitting at third or fourth in my ranking if I had to place it out of 6.
I don't know where. I haven't thought of it yet. I should do that.
It's definitely only battling with
Avengers.
The Avengers episode, because T'Challa and Doctor Strange's episodes are top 2 for sure.
Yeah, that's probably where I'm sitting too then. All right, so we got 3 more episodes left of the show. We know there are concepts still left to be explored, such as Vision and Thanos Gamora.
Ultra
and
Vision.
We know that we get at least one more T'Challa appearance, and I'm thinking it's the Star-Lord T'Challa coming back.
I assume that as well.
Yeah,
we've seen a clip where he's back.
I'm guessing that that Gamora, Thanos, and Ultra Vision aren't related, so I'm guessing those are the next 2 episodes, and then we have one episode that's like the
merger,
like some sort of crossover. I would imagine so. Yeah. Because I keep seeing the poster in my head of the Guardians of the Multiverse, where we do
see like the shot of them like in the trailer.
Yeah.
Captain Carter, Star-Lord, T'Challa,
Party Thor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess that'll do it. So yeah. All right. Wednesday.
What if?
What if Wednesdays? All right. So should we get out of here then?
What if Wednesday?
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. So, hey guys, with the Fichtner podcast. This is Fichtner's Watch. You can find more stuff on this channel. Make sure to like this video. Make sure to subscribe to this channel. You can find tons of other Fichtner's Watches for What If.
I'm Captain Carter.
That actually works really well.
Hello.
And you can you can check out the other Marvel shows we've talked about: Loki, Falcon Winter Soldier, and WandaVision. And we'll continue to be talking about the Marvel shows until we're dead.
Probably.
There's also another What If series happening right now, which is Star Trek. Another Fichtner's Watch series happening right now, which is Star Trek Lower Decks.
What if Star Trek were animated?
I am talking to Star Trek. By the way, Sparks, you said it's the first animated series. It is the second.
I didn't say that.
I had to edit your description.
I don't recall saying that.
It's fine. It doesn't. I wanted to do the glasses bit. I apologize. Anyway, so check out Star Trek Lower Decks, where I'm talking to Downright Nerdies, Michael Carls, and Just a Little Podcast Cookie. We are going through that whole series, and we'll continue to do it. We talked about we're going to do Prodigy, and we'll do Discovery. So it looks like we're doing Star Trek for a while on that show. I'm really excited to finally do that. Finally have an outlet for that. So check out that, and check out other shows on this channel, such as Basement Arcade. New episodes are coming soon, and Basement Arcade Pause Menu. A new episode has 2 new episodes are actually aired this week. PlayStation 5 showcase. What a year this week has been. And Alisai, correct?
Yep, Alisai. Yeah.
Yes,
you got it right.
Interview with Alisai. Those 2 can be found on this channel. And also Fichtner Book Club, currently on hiatus. We'll get that back. And Animation Station, where Sparks and I put up a new episode this week, where we talked about Adventure Time, Distant Lands, Obsidian. That was a lot of fun. Sparks, fun?
Yes.
Did you not like it?
Jesus.
No, I was looking it up. I said first adult animated series.
I added the adult. Anyway, so here we go. And of course, you can check out the audio stuff, such as Conversation, which is a podcast I do talking to other podcasts about fandom. Subscribe to that. That's audio only. And of course, the Mothership Show, the Fake Nerd Podcast, the show that this is what we do when we talk about Fake Nerd Podcast. We talk about all sorts of things. It's a general pop culture podcast where we talk about news and shit. This week, we skipped last week. We're going to be talking about Why the Last Man. On this past episode, we're going to be comparing the first volume to the first episode of the TV series. that just aired. So check that out. That goes live every Sunday. Yeah, and then a week after, we don't know, but it'll be something. That'll be it. Subscribe to this channel, like this video. Fake Nerd Podcast on all the social medias, fakenerdpodcast.com. We've got TeePublic and we've got a Patreon. You can check out those two, all linked below. And you can find me at BT McClure on Instagram and Twitter. And Ben? You
can find me actually learning how to pronounce the word omnipotent at BenMaca27 on Instagram and Twitter. Second time with a Marvel movie that I said a word and apparently that's not the correct way to pronounce it.
It's just funny. Did you mispronounce it did you mispronounce it that time? Did I just hear things? Because that'd be really funny. That'd be a really funny bit if you said, "I'm going to learn how to pronounce omnipotent." If you mispronounced it,
that's what I said.
Ryan.
Hey, I'm at DJ Tony Snark all over the world.
And Sparks.
You can find me at Sparks Witty on Instagram and Twitter, SPRKZ Witty.
All right, that's it. Until next time you see us, guys. Stay fake nerds.
What if?